We have taken control of this transmission. There is nothing you can do.
This is Radio TakeOver. Radio TakeOver. With hosts Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh.
We ask that you remain calm and stay dialed in to AM 1510 WMEL, FM 94.7, 99.9, and 100.7.
Welcome to this week's edition of Radio TakeOver. My name is Karen Wooden, and you are?
Chuck Fresh. Chocolatey. Chuck Fresh.
I'm going to come up with a name for you. It's taken me a year, and I still haven't come up with a great K name for you.
Nothing goes with K.
You know what? The first thing I'm going to do in 2018, Karen, I'm going to come up with a name for you.
I appreciate that.
You probably don't want that. You're not going to want that.
Have at it, because...
As a matter of fact, I'm going to call in the special consultant. This guy knows how to name anything. His name is Rob Cahill.
Oh, you know?
With a K.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. With a C.
With a C.
Yeah.
The two of you get together, it's trouble.
Anyway, 2018 right around the corner. Happy New Year to all of you, and hope you'll all be safe and smart and prosperous and healthy in the brand new year.
Are you going to make any resolutions?
No, I don't make resolutions.
I resolute to not.
You resolved
I can't
not to
get
make
that. I
resolutions.
resolved
Yeah,
not.
so I copied that from you last year. I'm
Yeah,
like, wow, that's a great plan. I don't have to think.
You know, and I keep it every year.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about messing that up. Exciting guests in the RTO studios today. Oh my God, I got chills when they walked. I'm like, oh my God, is that really them?
You're getting me all excited.
Yes.
Marshall Frank is with us, ladies and gentlemen. And his lovely wife.
Sit down.
Susanne.
Suzanne.
Wrong on both
Français.
cases. Suzanne Frank here too.
Thank you.
You're very, very eloquent, the both of you. 30 years in law enforcement with a major police agency would provide any retired cop with enough career experience to write any book, fiction or nonfiction. He originally started documenting his true life experience and realized he could tell more of these stories by embellishing and expanding the fertile imagination. Using those real life people as composite subjects for fictional characters and real life events is the basis for plots. Brilliant. As he delved more into fiction, he saw where he could not only tell a suspenseful story, but deliver messages to the reader about the many problems inherent within the police profession in today's complex world of crime and injustice. Sounds like the beginning. Exactly, beginning of a TV show here.
Right.
So check out his website. It is, correct me if I'm wrong, it's marshallfrank.com.
That's very clever.
A list of all of his books available for purchase, and you can get them signed too, many at a discount.
Nice.
Plus, violin music, art, information about young talent, and promotions with the Creative Arts Foundation of Brevard. He also does seminars, book fairs, and goodness gracious, he speaks.
I'm exhausted just listening to you.
I'm exhausted just talking about it here. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome the lovely Suzanne Frank.
Yes.
Suzanne.
Along with the lovely Marshall Frank. Well, you're not as lovely as she is. Yeah. Well, welcome to Radio TakeOver.
I'm leaving.
But before we get started,
Today's wine.
is brought to you by Chuck Fresh.
What's this one called? Oh, I have to say it.
Yes, I make Chuck say all of this
right.
because
Today's
It's my
wine
It's like the
is
director.
Reserve Speciale. It's Barons de Rothschild Lafitte. It is a red something. I haven't tried this one. What is this?
I know.
It's very
Oh,
good.
It's a 70. It's a blend. It's a 70% Cabernet Sauvignon and 30% Merlot. Very good. We have
Yes.
thumbs up.
Yes, thumbs
That's all
Thumbs
that
up.
matters.
Smooth.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Too sweet, too tart.
No.
Perfect?
Just right.
Just
Just right. Yeah, I don't like sweet.
I know.
And this is...
I'm the worst wine tester you can ever find.
Oh,
They all
then throw it
they're
down, yeah.
all reds are alike to
Do
me.
you need a straw?
I'll do that.
Yes.
Where is this available, Karen?
That is available at ABC and other liquor stores. However, I think that wine is coming to an end.
Oh no! Why?
I'm not really sure. I didn't get the backstory on it this time, but that's a $50 bottle of wine.
Marshall and Suzanne, you better run to ABC right now. And grab
I
as
didn't
many
pay
as you
that.
can. Fill up your wine cellar.
I usually buy
For
Sutter Home.
$20?
Yeah.
Me too. I buy it in a box.
We recently had one of those.
Right. No, but it's on sale right now. It's so I mean you'll still be able to get it for a little bit longer for half price.
Yeah.
That's
So,
wonderful.
so if you want to impress your friends, just don't tell them.
Yeah.
Go out there and say, yeah, here.
You can't find this anywhere else, people.
No.
That's right.
And after a little while, you never find it anywhere.
That's true.
Even longer, you won't care.
Right.
So let's start out. Let's talk. We've got a lot of things to cover
A
here.
lot to cover. Okay.
We want to talk about some of your philanthropic. Say it, Karen.
You need another glass of wine, Chuck.
Philanthropic.
Need another
Let's
word.
talk about the
actually.
charity things.
Yeah, that charity thing that you do, that community stuff.
But first, we want to go back.
How far?
Close your eyes.
I can't remember the day I was born.
Think back when you were a child. What did you want to do when you grew up, Marshall Frank?
I wanted to be alone.
Me too. How's that working out?
I did.
Did you have anything before you went into law enforcement? What were you thinking you were going to do?
I think I was going to be a concert violinist.
Really? How
Yeah.
long have you been playing violin?
Oh, since I'm 6.
Wow.
When I got promoted in my police career, and I finally got a desk job where I didn't have to be called out all the time, I took my fiddle out of the case for the first time in a long time, and I said, now I'm going to do what I always wanted to. So I went to the Fort Lauderdale Symphony, and I applied to be in the symphony with the conductor, and I had to go through an audition. And I was rusty. I mean, it'd been a while. So he said, play something. So I played like a gypsy piece, Hungarian dance, whatever. And then he said, well, play this. And he opened a piece of music, and it was playable, thank goodness, you know. And so I played that. And he said, fine, take a seat, first violin.
Wow.
That's
I was shocked.
impressive.
I
Did
was
you have
shocked.
musicians in the family? I mean, what?
My
led
mother
you?
was a pianist.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, she was also a showgirl. She was a vaudeville girl.
Wow.
Wow.
And she was quite beautiful. And when she met my father was already an established actor, comedian on vaudeville.
What was his name?
You wouldn't know it, but his name was Art Frank, Old Man Whoopi. That was his little title, because he would dress up as an old man. And he put on makeup so well that the old Civil War veterans really thought he was one of them.
Wow.
But he was a comic, and he was headliner, Palace Theater, New York, starring Art Frank, also Milton Berle, also
Wow.
Rudy Valley, and and I have home movies at home showing him horsing around in the streets with Rudy Valley, Milton Berle, and Ginger Rogers.
Wow.
So, but he died at a very young age. I never met him.
Gosh.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so Mom had to go to work, and she was a showgirl, Queens Terrace nightclub in New York City,
Really?
and all the guys were going off to war, with the exception of mobsters. Mobsters don't do anything they don't want to do.
That is true.
There's always a way to get out of things.
Yeah, sure
Right.
is.
And anyway, so she met.
Bone spurs.
So she married a mobster, and he became my next father. I thought he was my real father, and stayed with him for 8-9 years, and he died, natural death. And
Glad you filled that in.
I had,
Yeah.
I knew you were wondering. And so Mom, a few years later, ran into somebody that was an old friend from the same organization, if you want to put it that way. Mm-hmm. And we got remarried again. So I grew up with gangsters in the house.
That's neat.
Mostly New York gangsters.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
And that was my orientation. And I don't know, I just had to practice a lot. And as I look back on things, I probably was what they call today ADHD.
What's that?
Mm-hmm.
Attention deficit
Oh,
disorder.
yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
ADHD.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
everybody
you
knows.
like that too?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, we got that in common.
Yeah.
Well, let's try to have a conversation.
So, why not piano? Why violin?
Because we were living in a hotel room.
Interesting.
And in Miami Beach was right after the war. I mean, people didn't live in houses.
Yeah.
They lived in whatever little things they can find, whether it be tiny apartments. And Miami Beach, we're talking about, the areas of Miami Beach down there were military bases during the war. Mm-hmm. So when they moved down there, the war was still going on, actually.
Yeah.
The only thing that was available was hotel rooms. What today is an old hotel, but then it was new, but they were small little rooms. And pianos didn't fit in these kinds of rooms.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
Wow.
it took a while for her to get her piano back years later. But by that time, I was already advancing in violin.
Let me ask you this. Is there anything called air violin? You know, air guitar? Is air violin a thing? Do you ever just
Never.
walk around and go...
Never even
Never thought about
that.
that. All right.
Air violin.
Karen, go ahead.
Starting a new thing.
Air.
I always have to ask one dumb
Violins are made of
Right.
strings. There's no air involved in
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
No air guitar either.
Strings and
Yeah,
wood.
it's kinda
Okay.
stupid. I have to ask one dumb question per interview.
No, it was an interesting
Okay.
question, actually.
So you've been in law enforcement for over 30 years. We're in law enforcement. You're retired now, correct?
25 years
25
ago.
years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
How old are you, man?
39.
answer that.
39.
Not a day over 22.
You look good.
I'm 39 for the 39th time.
There you go.
Right. How did you keep from burning out? Because you dealt with some of the worst examples of human behavior.
The burning out part was trying to keep my personal life in order during some of those times, especially in my homicide years. Because in homicide, you go to work on a Monday morning, you might not get home till Friday night, depending on what you had to do. And I had a very troubling marriage at that time, and things just got worse. To make a long story short, things just got worse because I just wasn't home much, and so that was the roughest thing to deal with. If you really want to think about what policing was like in the 1960s, I didn't think anything of racism because it was commonplace.
Yeah, it was normal.
Right.
It was accepted.
It was basically accepted, but it wasn't thought of as racism. It was thought of as normal.
Yeah.
Segregation in Miami, here 79th Street was the dividing line between white and black. It didn't mean one was better than the other.
Right.
It was
It's the way it was.
When I was a kid, I grew up thinking, well, that's normal.
Yeah.
The black people get on a bus, they go to the back, we go to the front.
Right. Interesting.
You got in trouble if you question that too.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
so it's interesting from this point of view now, and here we are in 2017, 18 almost, and we are, I have the ability to see that whole arc, the whole change in society, in the culture, from the police point of view, and also as a writer, because as a writer I've done a lot of homework, and watched a lot of stuff.
Let me ask you this: when you started your police career, were you still hanging out with mafia types?
When I went home for dinner.
Wow. Was your wife in the mafia? Your first wife?
No.
She was a mafia girl?
No wives, only my mother. My mom was a Norwegian beauty. She was a showgirl, but she was put on pedestals by these mobsters because when she walked in a restaurant with her on their arm, she was the trophy.
Dark guy.
She was the trophy.
Was she blonde?
No, she was a Rita Hayworth redhead.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, people
Color eyes.
blue.
Wow, redhead.
Stunning. I've never seen a redhead with blue eyes.
Yeah, she actually
Wow.
her color of her hair a little darker than yours, and they like auburn red, and wavy. She never went to a hairdresser, ever.
I'm jealous.
Me too.
Yeah, her hair is just naturally wavy. And when she would walk in a room, the conversation stopped.
Stopped.
Yeah.
Silent. Yeah, that's neat.
Yeah, but and when she would host parties at the house, which she loved to entertain, she would host parties, and there were always men and their wives from New York.
We were just talking about that.
I know, because when we walk into a room, people stop, but it's for something else. Another reason.
Them again.
And all these New Yorkers, my mother catered to the Jews and the Italians a lot. All right, so she would make spaghetti for this side of the table and chopped liver for that side of the table, and we just had a lot of fun. And she would ask me, not ask me, she would tell me. She'd say, "You're gonna play something on violin." No, I have to. So I would play something on violin. Then the music to my ears, words. Go to your room.
Yeah.
That was great. But all these guys had broken noses. That was one thing that left an imprint on me. These old mobsters had broken noses because when they were kids, they were getting fights in the streets.
Yeah.
And mommy never took them to the doctor.
No, I haven't.
Hey,
But tell them what you did when you went to your room.
I played violin,
Ah,
or I would conduct.
nice.
Yeah, I had a record player.
Yeah.
They call it
What's
different.
that?
A record player.
You know that thing?
Oh, yeah.
It spins around.
Yeah.
And
What they do now, they go.
Yeah, and I was conducting symphonies.
Practicing.
Yeah.
That's pretty. Air conducting.
Yeah.
Boom.
Need
See, we
air
got
for that.
Something out
else.
here.
So see, that is something I can do.
Now, you wrote a book called correct me if I'm wrong, Violins to Violence,
Yes.
and that tells the story of how you became a policeman.
Yes, it does.
So you go back a little bit into your history and tell our listeners and viewers how you decided to take up a career in law enforcement. It's a really cool story. It's probably better if you tell it.
Did you read part of that?
I did, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was kind of a ungrounded kid. Because I also suffered a little bit of being made fun of in school. So I took up boxing and all these kinds of things. I got the what beat out of me.
Yeah.
But then as my late teens came along, met a girl and married her. She got pregnant, not in that order, but it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And I needed to get a real job, a real job. I mean, I had a job selling ladies' shoes. I mean, violin playing was okay. Here and there, you get a gig now and then, but you can't make a living. And so I sold ladies' shoes in a shoe store. I was terrible at it.
I did that too.
Oh, they
Did you really?
Oh, my God.
John Wanamaker's.
Did you ever see a lady with tangled toes?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it all. Disgusting, smelly. Oh.
And so anyway, I lost the job. And Bernie the bookie. He's my stepfather.
Bernie the bookie.
Bernie the bookie,
I
yeah.
like that.
He liked me because he was like the son he never had kind of thing,
Yeah.
And he had the New York accent. And he would sit on the edge of the bed and he said, "Hey, kid, what's going on?" He didn't know my name. He just called me Kid.
Hey, kid, how you doing?
He'd have to memorize that. Yeah. Anyway, as I said, Bernie, I lost my job today, and I told him the story. He said, "I'll tell you what, kid, you're going to be a cop." And I said, "A what?" I mean, because law enforcement, I was not one of these kind of kids that grew up wanting to be a fireman or a policeman, none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So I said, "Bernie, come on, you got to be kidding. Nah, you'll be a good cop. You're smart and you get in good shape." I said, "No, yeah, won't work that way." He said, "Well, why not?" I said, "But I've been in trouble. It was minor, but I've been in trouble." I said, "They never hire me." "Yeah, they will." I said, "How do you know?" "I got connections."
Of course.
Oh, we need some of those connections.
Yeah, right.
You still have those
And
connections?
the next day, a detective car pulled in front of the house.
Really?
And he said, some brute of a detective got out of the car. And he said, "Are you Marshall?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Come downtown with me." So I went to get in the back seat of the car. He said, "No, sit in the front seat."
Ooh.
I said, "I never sat in the front seat of a police car."
What's this like?
So he takes me down. I took the test, and 2 months later, I was in the police academy.
I was just going to ask you too, because I know with today's processes and procedures, it's different. And I was going to say, how with the history and who you grew up with, and the associations of being with the mob, that wasn't a problem, wasn't an issue.
Okay, two things. One
Or
day,
the organization. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I went to Bernie one day because I knew my sports in those days. I memorized baseball like crazy, and I wanted to bet on some games. I knew I'd win. I knew his pitching, the dynamics and all that. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Bernie, let me make a couple bets." He said, "Let me tell you, kid, I do what I do because I don't know nothing else. You keep your nose clean. Don't ever ask me that again."
Wow.
So he wasn't going to have me in the organization. He just helped me. That's all. So, story number 2. One of my first days on the job, I'm in roll call. Okay, and I'm a young kid. I'm 21 years old. Most of these guys are much bigger than me. Like if you saw the row of guys, it was 6'2", 6'3", 6'3", like 5'10".
Yeah.
And so I'm standing there with my gun up, facing the wall, like all of us were getting our guns inspected. As I'm facing the wall, waiting my turn, I look on the wall and I see a picture. There's a lot of pictures of gangsters there. And I looked on the wall and I said, "Oh my God, that's Guido Panosi. He was just at the house for dinner last week."
Oops.
Yeah.
But I had to keep my mouth shut.
It had to be a really tricky balance.
Nobody,
being law enforcement and you've got family on this end. What a tricky balance, man.
But there were the hierarchy of that department then was corrupt.
Right.
And so Bernie was, they were on the payroll, but it was quiet among everybody else.
I see a movie.
Well, you wrote the book, isn't it? Tell me the stories and from violence to violence.
Yeah, from violence to violence. Well, it starts off in my early days and grows into my police career. I have a lot of a lot of it about things that I worked on in the police department, and then goes into not too much about my post-career. All right, I just kind of left it there. But it's a book that out of nowhere, this fellow up in Pennsylvania about 8 years ago read this book, and I don't know how he got a hold of it or whatever. And his name was Chris something. Remember his name? Chris. Anyway, he publishes books, and he also has written a couple of books of himself, and he knows some people in the movie business.
There you go.
He asked me if I would be interested. I said, "You have a lot of nerve asking me that question." No, I'm kidding. I said, "Yeah, sure." So he worked at trying to promote the book. He apparently knew a few major personalities in the business, and but it didn't go anywhere. But I'm still friends with him, and he's published a couple of my other books.
Oh, I smell the stories. What a great movie.
It'd be a great movie. I would definitely.
Story, man, that balance,
Right?
Being a kid.
Because that can't be easy.
Yeah, just impossible balance, man.
I just had to keep my mouth shut, and that was Bernie's advice.
Yeah.
Keep your mouth shut, eyes and ears open,
and still
mouth
try
shut.
to do your job right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's what a tough balance. Listen, we're going to take a quick break. Our guests today, Marshall and Suzanne Frank. And we're going to talk about some of your books when we come back, and also some of the charitable stuff you do right here in Brevard County. Karen Wood, this is Chuck Fresh, Radio TakeOver. Stick around. We'll be back right after these words.
This is Chuck Fresh with the WDN, and we are super excited about our newest channel, WDN Health. We're going to cover a myriad of things on this channel, things that you've probably wondered about. I know I've wondered about in my entire life. We're going to cover Eastern medicine. We're going to cover nutrition. We're going to cover water supplies. Is your water safe to drink? What's the best type of water to drink? We're going to cover diets and weight loss. We're going to cover prescription drugs and addictions and all kinds of things that affect your health, whether you know it or not. So stay tuned to this channel. We're really excited. We're going to have a super lineup of professional guests. We're going to have doctors, nutritionists, therapists, all kinds of people from various walks of life in the medical field. And a couple of nurses who are very, I'm super excited about the nurses we're going to have on here who are not afraid to tell the truth. So you're going to get the truth in medicine, and only here on WDN Health. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more.
Domination. We have taken control of this transmission. There is nothing you can do.
This is Radio TakeOver. Radio TakeOver. With hosts Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh.
We ask that you remain calm and stay dialed in to AM 1510 WMEL, FM 94.7, 99.9, and 100.7.
To Radio TakeOver. I'm Karen Wooden.
My name's Chuck Fresh.
Chocolatey Chuck Fresh.
God.
Anyway, if you're just joining us right now, we have the legendary Marshall Frank.
Legendary. Never had that adjective before.
Well, you do now.
Wow.
We're the media, so what we say is true.
That's right.
That's right.
We can make any fake news we want.
That's right. Oh, we don't do fake news?
No, we don't do fake news.
And also joining us
You mean you're honest?
Well,
what we say is news, and
yes.
As much
true.
as we can.
So,
I believe it.
Let's not push it.
Let's not push it. And also joining us is his wife, Susan.
Suzanne.
Suzanne. I said
Suzanne
Susan.
is a legend
I
in
am
her
sorry,
own
you know
mind.
what?
Oh. Yeah.
Let me redo that. And we also have Suzanne.
Did I just say Suzanne's a legend in her own mind?
In my
No,
own
in her
mind.
own right, ladies
Her
and
own
gentlemen.
right.
Suzanne, tell us what you do that makes you famous.
I'm an artist.
What kind
I
of
don't
art?
know if it's famous, but
You
I'm
are
an
famous.
artist. What kind of art? My primary was clay. My medium is clay, and I do all kinds of masks. Some of my art is at grills. here.
Really?
Yes. And the other is at Tuscany's. And also at home. So people come to my home and they see the art, and we have a glass of wine like you had.
What time should we do?
I know.
Anytime you want.
I saw handbags on your website.
Well,
What's
now,
going on there?
I don't know. I just switched and I went into handbags, and I'm doing leather handbags and kimono. I get the material from Japan, and I make these. They take kimonos and they undo them all, and then they sell the pieces, and I do kimono.
So you, in fact, are known as the local Michael Kors, aren't you?
Yes. How did you guess?
Yeah. I've heard that.
Female version.
Yeah.
I just got a whole idea. We'll go over to their place.
Yeah.
We'll shop and do some art, and then we'll watch your old tapes.
And he can play violin.
And you can play violin.
While the old
and
tapes
we'll
are going
have
on.
wine.
Do you have any
we'll
man
bring
purses?
How about I can do
Frank?
piano?
I can make.
Yeah, there we go.
I make personalized purses too.
Oh,
Merces.
Yeah, they're really something else. They're
Mercy.
yeah, personalized. The woman or the man tells me all their side. They dump their purse first of all, and then they know what's in their purse because they've already lost their arm in their purse looking for things. So then they give me all the measurements of their glasses and their makeup and all this, and then I make a bag just for that. And then when they get their bag, they can put everything in a little pocket where it fits.
That's smart, like a custom purse.
Yes, personalized, custom.
You should be at the Rosa Marina boutique. You should have been there a couple
We need
weeks
to
ago.
hook her
Next
up.
year.
Next year.
Have you ever heard of Madeleine Albright?
Yes, we have.
Well, she in her office has one of her pieces.
Wow.
2 pieces.
Well, tell us where we can find more about you, Suzanne.
Yes.
Where's your website?
My website is kind of antiquated,
That's okay.
and I'm going to have you redo my website, so I can't wait to have.
What's the domain? What's the .com?
It's Parisian Sculptures at not at .com.
Yeah, ParisianSculptures.com.
Okay, we'll list that in our
Parisian
comments.
with the E.
Got it. We'll list it in our comments below. It's
Sure.
kind of tricky to spell. So thanks for joining us, the both of you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Let's bounce back to Mr. Marshall Frank, the author. So what inspired you to become a writer after that illustrious career in law enforcement?
I didn't know I had a flair for writing until I got into homicide. When I was in high school, I skipped school most of the time, and I got bad grades. But when I had to turn in a paper on something, I could put a paper together in like no time.
Wow.
Whereas it was a struggle for other kids. I didn't think anything of it. And then in homicide, I could write pretty good reports, and they started using my reports as examples that other guys should follow. But I didn't think anything of it. It's okay, I can do it. So I just came to the realization I just have a flair for writing. And then the McDuffie case is what really gave me the inspiration to do it. In Miami, I don't know if you're familiar with it, when Miami riots occurred in 1980. What started
That's what
that?
I saw in Scarface. Yeah.
No.
Different?
Different.
All right, forget it. Skip it.
There's a black man that had been beat up and killed by a group of white police officers. And I worked that case. I was very close to it. It was a tough time in my career, but I arrested 5 police officers.
Wow.
And they were tried in Miami, and when they were found not guilty, Miami erupted into riots like Rodney King did in L.A. And I always had a lot of opinions about the way the state attorney handled it, which was Janet Reno, and she was very good, and the way the media handled it, especially the media. And I always said, well, people need to know what really happened. So I was going to write a book about the true story when I retired, because while you're employed, you can't do that.
Yeah.
So while I was retired, I was going to write the true story, and I consulted with a writer, and it was Edna Buchanan. She's pretty well known. And she said, are you going to write it in fiction or nonfiction? And I said, nonfiction. I know the whole story. She said, you should write it in fiction form. I said, why? She said, so you don't get sued.
Yeah. Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good point.
Yeah. She said, well, you can use, even if you use phony names for the real people can still identify themselves.
Right.
And if they can, so can others. Therefore, you're subject to lawsuits. So I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I went on a journey to learn how to write fiction, which I'd never done before. I had never even read fiction, honestly. And so we retired fully to the mountains of North Carolina in a little town called Maggie Valley. And I said, I'm going to write the story of the McDuffie case. And I did. But I changed the black guy to a white guy. I changed one cop to two cops. And I did a lot of altering of the actual facts, although the plot remained the same. You know, were these guys racists? And that was the media take. They were racists.
Yeah.
And while yes, they were white guys, and this was a black man, this didn't happen because they were racists. They're just bad cops who couldn't control themselves under a stressful situation.
Interesting.
If the guy was white, the same thing would have happened.
Yeah.
So the book is called Beyond the Call, and that was my first novel. I've written 6 novels and 1 book of short stories. So it was my first attempt at writing a novel. It's not my best, but
What do you think your best is, in your opinion?
Suzanne will say differently, but my best is my most recent novel. It's called The Upside to Murder. Yeah, when I tell my students, you want to see a novel that's really kind of structured really well, I think that's it. Suzanne will say that,
Call me mommy.
call me mommy.
And have a box of Kleenex next to you, because by page 72 you are crying.
Wow.
It is really, really strong.
Also
I
known
like
as
it.
Boohoo.
So when you're writing the books and you've completed them, do you pass it to her first before turning it in?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and because one thing about Suzanne is she'll hammer me.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Is she gentle?
No. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
You need to change that. It doesn't mean I'm going to change it, but she's very frank with me. And
But you are too with me.
Yeah,
in my art, I'll ask him to look at my art, and he'll say, "Oh, that eye's
which
too
gives
low."
credibility to when you're saying I love it or it's great. You know that if I say that piece is really good, you know that it's not watered down because I love you.
Right.
Oh.
Same here.
Oh, that's great. That's a nice balance between the two of you.
Yeah.
You can kind of bounce off.
That's why it works.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So, what do you think is your most favorite book that you've ever written? Your favorite one, the most fun to work on, the one that just like when you were done, you're like, oh God, this is awesome. I love telling this story. If you had to pick one.
I don't think I never thought about having a favorite book. I mean, if you ask me which one I think my best ones are not my best ones and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
I find the nonfiction books are a struggle.
Yeah.
Because they have to be true, and you have to back yourself with facts and where your sources are and things like that. I've written 2 books on radical Islam in America, and I find that I have to be so careful about how I structure and how I word things, and make sure that if I say anything that sounds critical, that it's supported.
Right.
I got interested in that topic because of 9/11. I kept following it since then.
Right.
My memoir, I probably enjoyed writing the memoir more than anything because it was so easy.
Yeah.
It was just so easy. I just had to be a little careful that some people who I would be critical of, or I would change their name, and I have a little asterisk by it and say this is not his real name,
Right.
Because they're still alive. I'll wait till they're dead. The dead can't sue. It's okay. You can put their real names down. But other than that, I've written a book about how to write a book. I've written a book about the criminal justice system. I certainly have my opinions about how to make things better in the criminal justice system. No one's listening.
Well, you never know.
You never know.
Somebody might be coming up and reading this. As they
Yeah.
begin their escalation into their real career. Let's move on to the cool stuff you're doing here.
Creative Art Foundation.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
You've got something called Music on the Hill coming up the end of January. Tell us about Music on the Hill.
Music on the Hill is we don't do it every month of the year, but during the season, it's a monthly show, which we put on at the last Sunday of the month. We use the Unitarian Fellowship Hall at Pineda, which is just north of Pineda. to put on the show, seat up to 100 people. We have a piano, we have a little stage, and we present usually about 3 prodigies. And our standards are pretty high. We don't just put cutesy little kids on, although they're fun. We generally limit it to kids who have really practiced and studied for a number of years, and they're pretty advanced. And usually whittles down to mostly pianists, violinists, and singers. Though we've had cellists, we've had harpists, we've had a lot of other instruments as well, wind instruments. But when we have these shows, the people just eat it up. The people that come to it, they just love to see these kids because they're so bright, and they love to perform. It's an opportunity because a lot of these kids study and study and study. And they practice for hours and hours every day, but they have nowhere to show it off. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they're in an orchestra, well, that's nice. Yeah. If you're in a band, that's nice. But when do you get to show off? Yeah. Right. And this gives them a chance to show off. And there's this boy that he's 13 now, just performed the last show we just did. We started having him in our programs when he was 9, and when he performed this past Sunday before last, he played one of the Paganini caprices. Now, the 24 Paganini caprices is considered to be the epitome of violin virtuosity. Now, like, if you can play a caprice, you've reached the top.
Karen knows this.
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
When is it my turn? Oh, okay. Anyway, so the kid is very impressive. He's a prodigy. He also speaks fluent Russian.
Wow.
We started this program 10 years ago when we met a little girl. She was 13. She looked like 9, and they asked us if we would like to hear her play violin sometime. And okay, I guess. So, twinkle, twinkle. So we had her come over and some friends, and she opened up with a concerto and started playing the violin like she was in Carnegie Hall. Wow. The hair rose on my arms, and I said, "What is it?" I asked her afterwards. I said, "What do you want to do?" She said, "Well, someday I'd like to, go to Carnegie Hall, and someday I'd like to, compete in international competition and all that kind of stuff." Then the family didn't have any money at that time. So we put on a fundraiser and starred her for a fundraiser, raised $5,000, sent her to Europe. She got into the competition in Italy. Wow. From there,
what an experience!
One of her prizes was to play a recital in Carnegie Hall, and so we went to New York. We attended the recital, and Suzanne was in Rotary Club then. We presented her this violinist, the Rotary. They fell in love with her, and her story. So we said, everybody said, why don't we put together a program where we can help other kids like this? Yeah. Because some of them just need a little spark to be able to go to college, be able to go to summer workshops and buy instruments and things like that. Yeah. So that's how the Creative Arts Foundation got founded. And in terms of grants and prizes and things like that, we've given out about $80,000 already.
That's pretty cool. That's amazing.
Yeah. So we're very pleased with it. A lot of work, but it's worth it.
How can people get involved, either as a musician, a budding musician, or somebody who wants to donate and help the cause?
www.cafob.org.
CAFOB, and again, we'll put that in the comments below too. .org.
Right. That
CAFOB.
Creative Arts Foundation of Brevard.
Awesome.
And it's a nonprofit, and people who donate to us, it's tax write-off.
Cool.
And we've brokered some good deals for kids that have instruments they would never have had otherwise. Just stuff like that.
Great
That's
work.
Wonderful.
Great work. So you say you have one of these Music on the Hills. Is that January, February?
January, February, March.
Are these independent or?
Every show is different.
Okay.
And in April 9th, is it? It's the second Sunday in April.
Okay.
We're going to have our competition for the year. And we'll have 10 kids. They're all competing for a $1,500 prize.
Ooh.
And lower prizes. It's going to be at the Advent Lutheran Church of Sundry.
What's that called? What's that event called?
Brevard's got music talent.
It's like an AGT, Karen.
You know what? I think Chuck would make a great MC.
No, Marshall is the MC.
Marshall.
I've seen him do this before.
Has he?
Yeah,
He's
wonderful.
So you do the MCing too?
Oh, yeah.
I know, but
Nice.
maybe I tell dirty jokes. So we need to tell clean jokes.
I don't know.
He's an excellent public
Dirty
speaker, which
jokes.
he can
I
hire you
kinda
on the
like
side for
that.
that, can't you? Don't you have an MC?
I can talk. I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm accustomed to
He's
it.
got this down. A lot of people do need us to MC things, Karen, but Marshall's got this one down.
They have the Dick Doc Duo.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
I also have.
Duo. You gotta hear about
we
that.
run around the
Sounds
state.
interesting.
A what?
Dick Doc
Duo.
Duo.
Dick,
Ask
as
him
in
when-
detective.
He just
Doc.
likes the sound
I
of
know.
it.
I was
He,
like,
you,
oh,
you know,
is
his
that-
ears
I
just
saw
went.
it coming.
Did John Harper just beep that? So Dick Doc Duo.
Well,
One more
Explain that
time.
for
Say,
us.
say that one more time.
I can't. Go ahead.
Dr. J. Barnhart. It's a long story how I met him, but anyway, 10 years ago I did a book talk, and I met him at a book talk. He attended in Cocoa, and he's a retired medical examiner from Miami. I didn't know him down there, and I always play a little violin when I do my book talks, just kind of like a little side thing.
That's cool.
And when they talked to me afterwards and said, "Well, you want to get together and play together sometime?" He played piano.
Oh.
That was his little side thing. So I went to his house and we started getting. Well, we just hit it off. Let's put it like that. We just hit it off. We're both good at playing by ear. I use my fingers. Anyway, thank you for the laughter. But anyway, so we toured the state often, and his brother called us. You guys should say you're the Dick Doc Duo. You're the Dick, he's the Doc, and it caught on.
Sure, which one I'd want to be.
Oh, he's a dick.
As in detective.
As in detective.
Where is your mind?
Yeah.
And the
I thought you
dog.
just needed some marriage counseling or something. Sure where we're headed here.
You wish.
The Dick Doc Duo. So will you two be at Music on the Hill and Brevard's Got Music Talent? Do you host these things together? Or?
Well, we have a board of directors that right now are 8 people. I think. So we have 4 other people that they're assigned January, another one is assigned. So the producers are different every month.
Okay.
So I don't do it all.
Okay.
And so the January show, I may be doing that. I'm not sure. And then we have one in February, one in March. Then we have the big competition in April. So we're not looking past that right now.
Okay. Can people buy tickets to these events and come see this talent?
What we do, Music on the Hill is only $5 to come and pay at the door,
Suggested.
and it's suggested.
Suggested
Because
$5.
it's nonprofit,
Yeah.
so we can't say you have to pay.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes in and says, I don't want to pay, but I want to watch, okay.
But they could give you 20 or 50
Yes.
or
Oh, yes,
100.
and they
Some
have.
do.
They have.
So
What a great opportunity.
we
to
have one
go
donor
see.
that gives us $1,000 every so often.
Wow.
And that really helps with the grants. We award grants. The prizes are $1,700 is the $1,500 is the first prize, but we have other prizes too, and it totals about $2,700.
Wow.
So
You told me a story about a young lady who, I think it was a young man. I think it was Tomas.
Tomas Lopez.
You did something for him too. You helped him get where he is. Why don't you tell us his story?
Yeah, well, he just needed a couple times we helped him. He needed money to go to summer camps and also to play for the symphonies.
Yeah.
And so we helped him out financially with that. He put in for grants. He is a multifaceted, multi-talented young man. Now he's 19.
Yeah.
And he plays not only violin very well, but he also plays a beautiful guitar, and he plays a beautiful saxophone. And he's at Heidi's over in Cocoa Beach.
Yeah.
Heidi's nightclub there.
Yes.
He plays there pretty often as well. And handsome kid, humble as you can possibly find.
Yeah.
So comes from a family of like 6 other kids. So, and they're not rich.
You got to tell them what we just saw with Fleming, Renee Fleming.
Oh,
the
one of
opposite.
our, we call them graduates. It's not really graduated in anything, but they're our former prodigies. And Dorothy Gall's an opera singer level, or Broadway level. And she was in our first few years. Well, now she's just finishing her master's degree at Rice University in Houston.
Wow.
And online, I watched her have a master class with Renee Fleming.
Wow.
Renee Fleming is the the opera star of the century, and so she got to meet her and be coached by her. So we're really proud of her.
Yeah. What a neat opportunity.
Has anybody come back? How many years have you been doing this now?
It started 10 years ago,
Okay.
but it took a year to get legal, and so we've been actually active 9 years.
Has anybody really huge really made it in the industry come back to mentor people?
Well, like Esther, the little girl that inspired us to do this, the first one that came to the house played the violin. Esther is now in her second year of med school.
Wow.
So she did the smart thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of great violinists out there that is in her level.
Yeah.
But, they're still struggling to make a living.
Yeah.
They're still struggling from gig to gig or orchestra to orchestra, that kind of thing. And she's got all it takes to be a doctor.
Yeah.
So
she'll never lose music.
she still plays on weekends and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you can still pursue. I mean, that would be a little hard, but it's good to pursue both because even if you're, if my child said I want to be an actor, I say, still go to college.
Right.
Absolutely.
Still.
And her parents are
study.
pretty rigid about that. Yeah. Her father's a PhD professor, and her mom is a pianist. Was a piano director at FIT.
Wow.
And so she's in that accomplished environment.
Right.
Right. But we're very close with her. I loaned her. She didn't have a good violin when I met her, and I considered it a box with holes in it. And so she said she can't go across the ocean and compete with that violin. So I have a violin that's like 200 and something years old. It was made in the 1790s, so I loaned it to her.
Wow.
And that's
You should meet Loris Vidal. Do you know who he is?
Yes.
He's the guy that makes his own instruments out of old stressed wood.
Is that right?
He makes guitars. He's made banjos. I don't know if he's done a violin, but
He's.
we should hook them up.
Yeah, he's amazing, and you would never know. It sounds absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Real passion for that.
And that might be able to do something. He might be able to contribute something to you guys too.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I'm going to work on that. Loris Vidal.
Okay.
I'll send his contact information. That'd be really neat. All right, anything else going on? We know we have Music on the Hill going on January, February, March. We have Brevard's Got Music Talent coming up in April.
Yes.
We can find more information about the organization at CAF as in Frank, OB as in boy.org.
That is correct.
And people can make contributions on that site if they want to?
They can do it automatically. Push a little button.
Excellent.
We need a button, Chuck.
What a great cause.
Yes.
I want to thank you guys
It is.
for doing
And
it.
thank you for having us on.
Yeah.
I appreciate it very
Yeah.
much.
Cool
It's
to
been
give these
great.
kids who may not have an opportunity. There's a lot of kids who have this just...
Can I bring up one more thing from my
go ahead.
wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. Suzanne is going to have her art displayed at the King Center
Really?
What?
February of 2018.
When? Where? What?
In February.
February.
The whole month? You're going to be in the
whole
front
month.
lobby?
Well,
Yes, in the lobby.
I usually have. I've been doing that for about 10 years that I've been asked
How
to
exciting.
display there.
Very cool.
And this year will be a little bit different because I'll have my clay plus my purses.
Wow.
So it'll be the first time they've ever had purses, handmade purses.
Can people go in that lobby when there's no concert?
No, they don't
Yeah,
do that
it
anymore.
has to be with show going
Yes,
on,
it has
see
to
that.
be with the show.
I guess. That's unfortunate. Should
Well-
work on that. Get in there and see your
They,
stuff, girl.
they used to, but then it caused a lot of problems. So
Yeah,
this way
staffing
here,
and-
yes,
yeah,
yes,
that's weird.
and
Security.
insurance and all that. So this is great.
Neat.
Well, listen, thank you guys for coming on the air. And again, thank you
Thank
for all you
you.
guys do, giving those kids an opportunity who may not have an opportunity.
And thank you.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Come here. We always
been
give
great.
you wine.
And listen, all you people listening out there in Radio Land, from Jacksonville to the Bahamas,
Yeah,
have a
man.
happy, healthy, and prosperous 2018. And check our website at www.brevardradio.com and www.radiotakeover.rocks.
See you next year.
See y'all next year. Y'all be good and
See
take
you
care.
next year. Then.
Happy New Year.
For Karen Wood, this is Chuck Fresh. Thanks again to Marshall and Suzanne Frank. We'll talk to y'all soon.
This has been Radio TakeOver, Brevard's hit talk radio show with Karen Wooden and Chuck Fresh. Heard every Wednesday at 1 p.m. right here on 1510 WMEL. And streaming all over the world 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Join us next Wednesday at 1. for Radio TakeOver. For sponsorship rates and availability, please log on to brevardradio.com.